1. Go.
Welcome to the Fourth Line Podcast, part of Full Press Radio. This is November the 10th, 2020. With you today is myself, Carl, and Stevie Nick.
A day late, but never a dollar short, Carl.
We have both of our dollars right now, Nick.
Both, which means we're up.
You know what? It's been a good week.
It's been a good week. You know why the week's been so good?
I don't.
Because our podcast is making some news out there, or at least it's influencing some news out there.
Tell me more.
Well, last week, our summer segment, our summer top 10s, was all about mustached hockey players.
I remember that, yeah.
The top 10 hockey players with mustaches. And we had a bit of an argument over Auston Matthews and where he should rank on that list.
I think there was less of an argument on where he should rank and more so if he should even be on the list. I think that was my bigger issue was his inclusion on the list at all.
Well, it's funny you say that because I don't think Auston Matthews is even sure he should be on this list because it came out yesterday. He's now partnered with Movember. And if he is able to raise a certain amount of money, I didn't even know how much money it is. I didn't read that far into it. But if he's able to raise a certain amount of money, he will shave off the mustache.
Really? How much? I mean, we're up $1. How much money do we need to give to Auston Matthews to make this happen?
It's a great question. I know that Kyle Dubas donated to the cause.
Mm-hmm.
$134,000 he needs to raise.
Okay.
So I guess my first question is, does he think that that's a lot? Like, does he think he's setting it so high that he'll never have to shave off this mustache?
I think that all it takes is 1, 2, maybe 3 endeavoring teammates to make that happen.
Yeah. Just a couple of guys who don't like the way it looks out there.
Like just one Joe Thornton who's like, look, I'm on this team. I have the only facial hair worth talking about on this team. Okay. I know that my entire salary this year is $750,000 and I am giving 1/5 of that to Movember. Get out of here, Auston Matthews.
He's like, I will not be seen beside you with that thing on your face.
Yeah, never. It's not happening. I am the best mustache on this team. And Mr. Thornton shaves his beard into a wonderful mustache.
I think that this money is going to be raised so quickly and Auston Matthews is going to have to shave this baby. But did you watch the video that they put together?
I saw it was like a mean tweets. It was like the old, Jimmy Fallon, where they read mean things that people say.
Jimmy Kimmel.
Is it Kimmel? Yeah. I think Jimmy.
It's one of the Jimmys.
It's a Jimmy.
It was mean tweet style, but it was like intercut with shots of him combing his mustache up close.
Now that's an important thing to do. You need to, as someone with a proper mustache comb is important.
I'm sure it is, Carl. Look, I have no issue with the fact that he combs his mustache. I have an issue with how close we as the viewers got to that process. That was not required.
And actually, I do have an issue. Now that you mention it, I don't think a mustache of his stature requires a comb, though.
No, of course it doesn't.
I think you could just let that thing blow in the wind and you're completely fine, Auston.
Blow in the wind.
Do you want to hear a story? Speaking of mustache combs, do you want to hear a story that I've got with one?
Yes, absolutely.
It's very short, but almost led to some real bad situations. So I was traveling somewhere, I forget where, and I have a nervous habit where as soon as I got my mustache, my nervous habit became to pull at it, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a thing that I have. To the point that I would have patchiness on one side of it, or I'd bite at it.
Yep.
Right. So I'd have patchiness on one side. So I got this mustache comb as a thing, one, to keep a nice looking mustache, but I would just bring it as a thing to, instead of pulling out my mustache, I would just fix it. So I'm going, and I would just keep them in the shirt pockets of my shirts because I'm an old man like that.
Go on.
Sometimes you may also find jelly beans in those shirt pockets. You never know. You never know what you're going to find in there. So nonetheless, I've got these mustache combs and I'm traveling through the airport. And, go through security. I put, my wallet, my keys, my phone, all those things in the bucket and walk through security. And I'm standing there and they say, "What's that in your pocket, sir?" As I'm about to go through. And they ask me what's in my pocket. Now, the detail of this that I have left out is that it's a switchblade mustache.
Oh, it's a fancy one.
And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, I now have to open this switchblade mustache comb in the middle of the airport. And so I most carefully reach into my pocket. I'm like, it's a comb, and slowly open it so that they don't ever think I'm a threat with my mustache comb. But I'm fairly certain one look at me and this guy being like, it's a comb. They probably knew 100% that it was a comb, but that was me almost having an incident at the airport.
And did you get the old confident nod and a wink from one of the airport guys? Like, I got you, man. No, we all need that mustache comb.
It was two older ladies. So, I mean, they also could have
same question.
They were like, "Where'd you buy it? I need tips." I'll tell you what.
So there you go. Mustaches, obviously, it's a big month for mustaches. And I like to think that our little show is the cause for Auston Matthews' existential mustache crisis.
You know what? If we get enough receipts sent to us that it equals $134,000, I'll also shave my mustache off.
You heard it here first, folks. Carl, how long have you had that mustache?
5 years.
It's a long time, but not as long as I thought.
Hey, for a 32-year-old, that's pretty.
Yeah.
It's not a short amount of time.
No, that's a long time.
But if someone donates $134,000, yeah, I'll do it. I would have even done it for less, but Austin set the bar, so now that's what I'm going with.
The good thing is that hair grows back. So Auston Matthews is going to end up shaving this mustache this month. But by the time the start of the season rolls around, he's definitely going to have a mustache again.
By 2022, when we play hockey again, his mustache will be right back on his face. Absolutely.
He'll use the whole year and a half to grow it back.
Yeah. It's going to be easy for him. Well, Nick, thank you for bringing that to our attention. Glad to be impacting hockey culture in the way that we are. I'm interested to see where today's summer top 10 list starts impacting the world, because we've got a good list happening today. We're also going to talk about some more news about what's happening with next NHL season. We've got, somehow there were some signings that happened this week. We even gave them an extra day, right? You said last night, maybe we'll get an offer sheet today. And you know what? We didn't.
Womp womp.
But hey, we're going to have a fun show anyways. So let's get into the NHL. And Gary Bettman kind of confirmed what we'd all suspected today, looking into next season and seeing what's going to happen. So they are looking to have a situation where they've got, starting in January, right? That was one of the things we talked about. They're looking at a potential mixture of playing in your own city, playing in a bubble city, or a hybrid of both of those. And I have no idea what that means.
Basically, Gary Bettman didn't answer any questions with his comments. He either just created more or created confusion. I think a lot of it is going to depend heavily on regional restrictions.
I think so. He did mention that realignment was a thing that could be happening to make this happen as well. The actual quote, and again, this will add zero clarity to the situation. He said, "You'll play for 10 to 12 days. You'll play a bunch of games without traveling. You'll go back home for a week, be with your family. We'll have testing protocols and all the things done. It's not going to be quite as effective as a bubble, but we think we can, if we go this route, minimize the risk to the extent practical and sensible. And so that's one of the things we're talking about. It's like play a bit, go home for a bit, play a little bit, go home for a bit. Sounds like quite the schedule for them to.
So they're not fully setting up a bubble, but these quote unquote hubs that he's talking about, are these meant to be like partial bubbles where players come to this one hub city, they play 10 or 12 games and they go home for a week or two?
I think so. Cause he did say that it's not practical. They will not be doing like full season bubbles because the players in no way would agree to that. But also acknowledged, it said, as it relates to the travel issue, which is obviously the great unknown, we may have to temporarily realign to deal with geography. And that may make sense because some of our teams travel from Florida to California. Not make sense. I like that that's the one that he's like, that's the biggest issue right now. Not traveling across borders, but Florida to California is a real difficult situation where we're just chartering planes to make this happen.
He's full of it. Their biggest issue is the border for sure. Although I guess they kind of eliminate it if they're doing the Canadian division.
Right. But again, Gary, we're not as dumb as you think we are.
You know what my favorite part of that whole news was? Is that he was on a panel with the MLB commissioner and the NBA commissioner.
Mm-hmm.
And it really got me thinking, like, you think all those guys get together every once in a while and just sit around a round table and have dinner?
I would say it's probably at Gary's kitchen table that he's been using since March.
So it's not around a round table, it's around a rectangle table, and it's surrounded by awful cupboards and china and plates and
yeah, exactly.
Yellow walls.
It's not a fun experience. They rarely want to do it, but
so here's a question then. If it's the three of them, who gets the chicken, who gets the beef, and who orders the fish?
So we got what? Adam Silver, Rob Manfred, and Gary Bettman.
Yeah.
I would say Gary's the beef guy.
I would think so too.
Yeah. I'm thinking Adam Silver's probably fish.
Looks like it.
And that leaves Rob Manfred as the chicken, which seems most appropriate.
I don't even know what this guy looks like. Oh yeah, he'd definitely get chicken.
Yeah. Glad we settled that. Should we next week's? We already have a topic. Maybe we bump this week's top 10 topic and make it top 10 meals served around Gary Bettman's kitchen table.
I love that list.
I do. Oh, that reminds me. I do have a food-based top 10 idea. Do you want me to share it now or like keep it a secret for later?
Keep it a secret for later from the listeners, but just like on the DL, shoot me a text right now. Okay. Tell me what it is.
Okay, I will. So that was really nothing that we didn't know already or didn't suspect already. The closer we're getting to this date, because if they're starting January 1st, camps need to open up in like a month. Do you think it's reasonable that NHL training camps are opening within a month?
Yes, I do. I think training camps are a little easier to manage. Each team can kind of create their own quote unquote hub. You
can quarantine within this rink situation. Yeah.
And like the teams can take it as far as they want. They can set up spaces for families and all of that. Like it's really kind of up to the teams to plan the whole thing, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So I absolutely could see training camps starting next month.
I guess it doesn't take as much as I assume for teams to do that, right? All you need is a rink. You have some sort of situation where presumably a lot of these players, because for the bubble situations, they had to like fly back home. Most of these players already have housing situated in those cities, right? Like you're not having to provide, they're not staying at a hotel. I mean, if you want to, turns out there's lots of hotels empty all across North America right now.
Shocker.
Yeah. Don't know why, but that's the thing that's happening. So you can very easily get probably a pretty cheap hotel for you if you wanted to bubble.
Yeah. And like, I know some team, like I know the Red Wings traditionally, they go to Traverse City and they have a couple rinks out there that they all kind of playing for a couple weeks. And I believe the players are expected to kind of stay there. So I don't think it's out of the question that teams do that. What I'm not sure of is how. I think it depends and how they work around that.
Yeah, I would say that's definitely going to be a big thing, right? Where it's going to be hosted. And then again, they'll need to have some sort. If we're starting play on the 1st, do we get a preseason? The NFL completely scrapped preseason. So I would say that it's a reasonable expectation that we also wouldn't get any for hockey.
Yeah, I would think so. And I think that's okay under the circumstances, especially if they're pushing through for a full season.
Yes, if they're trying to get 82 games, which is, they still say that they're trying to, 48 games is their last case worst scenario. What we're looking at, I saw a mention today again, and I don't think it was from this press conference, but I saw it kind of mentioned the 4 games a week being what's expected from these players, which I think is going to really be a difficult situation. We're going to see some very interesting ways that teams are managing, especially goaltenders, right? I think having a very quality backup goalie is going to be more important this season than ever before.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when we talk about full seasons, again, for the NHL and all these other professional sports leagues, what it comes down to is how can we make it so that we get fans into stadiums and arenas this year?
Yeah, they need to have a way. We see it in baseball, had fans by the end of it. Football has food or fans in their stadium by the end of it. So I think based on jurisdictions, you're going to have fans as soon as possible.
And also based on how long the season goes on for or how late it starts, right? This last week, Carl, has been an insane week in the news cycle. I mean, hockey's been dead, but news has been crazy in general this week. And one of the latest pieces of news that broke this week was that there is a company that thinks they have a pretty effective vaccine. I mean, I don't want to get anybody's hopes up. I certainly don't know enough about it, but vaccines are starting to come into the conversation, and I think governments are starting to plan for rollout of them by 2021. So, who knows by the time the summer rolls around where we are from a vaccine perspective. And then at that point, can we fill arenas?
That's true. I also appreciate the fact that I don't know if you forgot which company it was who has the vaccine, or if you were just you're not sponsoring this show right now. You're not getting mentioned, but I appreciate it either way.
I believe their name was Pfizer. Pfizer.
Yes.
Pfizer.
Only the largest pharmaceutical company in the world. Just a small little company called Pfizer. Just
this tiny little company who is not a sponsor of the show.
No. So don't go using Pfizer. Why is someone calling me right now? They've got to wait. I'm in the middle of a podcast right now.
Is this a gag, Carl?
This is not a gag. This is not me needing to run an ad. This is an actual phone call from an actual person who I'm just going to quickly Snapchat and tell them that I'm in the.
Do you know this person? Because you know who I got a call from tonight? The Weed Man at 7:45 p.m. Come on, man.
Now this is a lawn care company, correct?
That's right.
Okay, not something else.
No, yeah. This is lawn care. Yes, this is lawn care. And the reason they're calling me is because when my dad was visiting 5 weeks ago, he called them to ask for a quote for something, and they're following up. And then when I said I don't want to do it, they said, how about next year? Can we book you in? And I said, buddy, I don't know what I'm doing next week.
What is it happening in Toronto that your dad thinks that, I mean, it snowed 6 centimeters here today. Why is your dad concerned about lawn care maintenance in the middle of November?
Man, Carl, I hate to break it to you. It is beautiful here. We're coming off of 20-degree days over the last weekend.
Yeah, I am also sad that you broke that to me.
Yeah, it's like unbelievably nice here right now.
So what have you been grilling?
Oh, I've been grilling steaks. I've been grilling some nice homemade burgers. We rolled some burgers up last week that we threw on the grill. I grilled some shrimp over the weekend. That was delicious. And I'm going to do some more grilling this week.
I heated my cast iron pan up real hot and threw some steaks in there this weekend. That's where I'm at. I'm already at the point where I'm like, I need steaks and I'm going to do them inside because it's better than no steaks at all.
Yeah. I'm not far behind you, but I'm going to take advantage of this beautiful. The only problem is grilling in the dark. Anyways, what is our podcast about?
Hockey.
Right.
We are here. Do you want to talk? There were some signings this week. Should we talk about some of those before we get to our top 10 list?
Let's talk about some signings.
All right. None of these particularly were super exciting signings. I'm not gonna lie.
One of them was exciting for me personally.
I know, because little known surprise here, Nick is a huge Roope Hintz fan.
I'm a huge fan of the name.
I mean,
I think it's a great name
of Roope Hintz. When he first came in, I was all in on the name, but as a player, also really enjoyed what he's done. He's been like a very good, like originally depth piece, but like he's turned into a solid like core of that Dallas team right now.
Yeah, and he kind of came out of nowhere last year, didn't he?
I would say 2 years ago was when I going into that season, partially why I was such a Hintz. I'm trying to think of a word I don't know what a Hintz fan is called, right? Like if you were, let's say I was excited about Anthony Mantha. I'm not. But if I was, I would call myself like a Mantha man. I don't know what to call. I don't know what.
Or an Anthony Fantha.
That's better. Anyways, Roope Hintz, I was a big fan of him coming into last season. And then this year, he just kind of really cemented that in it and is a solid piece of that team.
Yeah. Have we played Where Is He From before? Do you know?
I'm going to guess Finland.
You're correct. He's from Finland.
There it is.
That was my stall so I could pull up his new contract.
Well, his new contract, he got a 3-year deal for $3.15 million a season. He was an RFA, so he wasn't going anywhere from Dallas. And still an RFA. This is only like a bridge deal. It doesn't take him to free agency, so still going to be a member of the Dallas Stars when this contract expires.
I think it's a great deal for this kind of guy, especially if he continues on his upward trajectory. He had 19 goals last year. Yeah. In his first full season with the team. Yeah. So $3 million if he scores more than 20 goals.
$3 million for a 20 goal scorer is more than enough.
Yeah. It's a good deal for them. I mean, the bridge deal has been the story of this offseason, I think, with all the uncertainty and the flat cap and whatnot. And these teams are just making out like bandits with some of these players.
I mean, if there is somehow a rebound, and I know that we're looking into a future where like escrow is through the roof and these players are getting so much money held back because of the agreements that they have. But man, if they end up having any sort of growth with this, then man, they're going to do great. Dallas Stars pretty much done now. All of their players that are RFAs are signed. They also have $250,000 left in cap space. So your Dallas Stars team from last year is pretty much your Dallas Stars team from this year.
Would you make any more changes? Do you think they need any more?
I mean, I think right now with how it is, so what Ben Bishop just had surgery. He's not going to be ready for the start of the season. Tyler Seguin also had surgery. He's not going to be ready for the start of the season. So I think with those two being out, it really limits, but not on like there was IR potentially right now, kind of limit some of that. If they're able to move those onto IR, the LTIR and get some of that cap, I think you could look at them potentially picking up another backup, to go alongside Khudobin or, just kind of a depth winger to fill Sagan's spot.
They're definitely going to need Jamie Benn to accelerate his goal scoring.
You know what? This is 303 for us? Leave him in the dust. 302? Who knows? Counting's hard.
Something like that. Have you projected by the start of the NHL season on January 1 what number we'll be at?
I bet we're probably going to be on, let's go with 310?
Around there, right?
Yeah. So we're already 10 goals up on them. And if they're playing an 82-game season, Jamie Benn's good for, what do you think he's at, 30? 40?
Yeah.
Well, I think we got him beat. I don't know if he's ever going to catch us.
Fingers crossed. It's going to be a tight race. One we'll be keeping our eyes on.
This will be the new segment, Jamie Benn Watch. Other signings, any other ones tickle your fancy?
Yes, there is one that tickles my fancy because I am very much a big Anthony Fantha of Anthony Mantha's new contract.
So do you think that's a good contract?
Yes.
For the
absolutely.
Red Wings?
Yeah, it is.
4 years, sure. 5.7 per season.
It's under 6 for Mantha. It's a good deal.
It's one of the biggest contracts handed out this entire offseason. Now, this is or isn't a bridge deal?
This would be a bridge deal, I think.
Okay, so is he still an RFA?
Where does it end? No, he's a UFA when it ends.
Okay, so this takes him right to free agency.
Takes him to free agency.
I'm just looking at other deals signed this offseason. And this is the third biggest contract handed out. The other two being Taylor Hall's 1 year in Buffalo and Jacob Markstrom in Calgary. Was Anthony Mantha really the third best player that's been signed so far this offseason?
No, but if you look at it from the Red Wings perspective and context of that team and what he means to that team and in context of their cap situation, it's absolutely worth it. He's their top line winger. He got hurt last year. Actually, he gets hurt a little bit every year, but he was on track.
I'm not sure that's helping their case.
He was on track to score many, many goals. 2 years ago, he scored 25 goals. And the year before that, he scored 24 goals.
Is this the guy that you made a bold claim of how many goals he would score last year?
Yeah, I think I said he was going to score 40.
I thought so too. Yeah.
And he was on track. He was having like hat trick games in the first 10 games of the season. He was scoring hat tricks, 2 goals here, a goal there, a couple goals over here. He was on fuego.
He was on pace for a 30 goal season, which I mean is a great price. 5.7 million for 30 goals is fine. That's great. But if he's repeatedly hurt, a little less.
Here's the thing about his injuries, though. It's not like he's tweaking something. He gets into fights and tussles, and that's where he gets hurt. Like he broke his hand in a fight.
That's how he hurt. That's why he missed all that time last year?
Yeah.
Maybe he should stop doing that.
That is literally what Steve Yzerman said to the media when he was talking about this contract. He doesn't want to see him fighting anymore.
Well, look, if Steve Yzerman's telling me to do something as a hockey player, I'm probably going to listen. I
love all these like old school hockey players who played through the toughest eras of the NHL talking about their players not fighting and not hit. Like, did you see the Brendan Shanahan quote a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, Brendan Shanahan came out and said the same thing. He's like, I don't think that's the best direction for us to be taking.
And I love how he defended it too. He's like, look, I didn't play this way as a player. I know I leaned into the big hits, but I get more excited for a big goal than a big hit. Really interesting, I think.
I think that's a long con for him because he knows that his Leafs can't play the physical game. He's like, look, let's just get this out of the game. What should that be a thing we do? No hitting? I know the OHL's not doing it this year. Why don't we just follow? Right? Safety first. Safety first.
Brendan Shanahan. Imagine if somebody said that to him when he was playing. No hitting. He would have hit them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there we go. Any others that stand out to you? We got some big the big signings this week, Ryan Strome got 5 years, a season for 2 to stay with the New York Rangers.
That was a weird one, eh?
I mean, Ryan Strome is one that I constantly like. I ride the Ryan roller coaster, old roller coaster Ryan over here, where I think like Ryan Strome's terrible, and then I'm like, oh, he's better than I thought he was, and then I'm like, nah, I was wrong, and I think that's what leads to what's been his contract situation throughout his career. Right? He's gotten a lot of money, he gets a little money, now he's sitting where he is.
But he's not like a huge performer.
No.
You know, he's definitely not a goal scorer. I mean, he scores goals, but I don't know. I can't believe this guy's been in the league since 2014. I'm shocked. There's other Stromes, right?
Yes. Dylan Strome. He's on the Blackhawks now. And there was the other Strome that didn't, nothing really.
Yeah, I'm getting them all confused because I was thinking about the guy who was on the Blackhawks.
Who's the third Strome brother?
Let's find out. He does not have an entry on Hockey Reference.
No? I could have sworn there was a third Strome. Matthew Strome.
Did he play in the NHL?
Matthew Strome was drafted in 2017 by the Flyers.
Did he get any NHL time?
Doesn't look like it.
He doesn't look like them either.
The adopted Strome? Is this the news you're breaking right now?
Yeah, based on my forensic investigation of Googling and very quickly looking at the picture, I'd say he's an adopted Strome.
Well, he has played in 2 seasons. He has played 25 games with the Lehigh Valley Phantoms of the AHL. So
there you go.
Probably not going to make his way to the NHL anytime soon. Considering he also played 25 games in the ECHL last year, there's not a lot who make that leap. So the third Strome, sorry, bud, you're like which Staal brother's the worst? Is it Jordan or Mark?
Mark, I think.
I would say Mark. Or
I like how Eric's not even part of the conversation.
No. Or I guess we could follow on because Jordan Subban is the worst Subban brother.
Easily, yeah.
Yeah. So we could just in theory, all Jordans in a trilogy of hockey brothers are the worst. Is that what the conclusion we've come to today?
I think that's the conclusion we've come to today. Thank you, Professor Carl.
You know what? Sample size of 2 is all I need. I'm not trying to develop a vaccine over here. I'm just making scientific theories about hockey players.
Great use of the scientific method. Anyways, they overpaid for Ryan Strome. Who's next?
Well, that's to say, Ryan Strome, too much money. Also, my math on that was wrong. I said he got 5. Ryan Pulock, another Ryan, got 5. Ryan Strome only 4.5. Still not so great. But Ryan Pulock, also to stay in New York, this time the Islanders, he got $5 million for 2 seasons. And that's one that, like, I think with some of the moves they made this offseason, moving out, man, that's slipping my mind right now. The guy who's on the Avalanche now. Who is that? Him.
He has 2 names, right? Dahan? No?
Oh, it'll come to me. Anyways, moving out a defender,
Dahan?
they needed to keep him around. Were you right? Is it Calvin Dahan?
No, he went to Chicago. Man, they moved a lot of defensemen.
And that Dahan move was last season. I'm gonna try to solve this puzzle before it comes to me. This is what happens when we don't play hockey anymore.
I'm just ignoring 2020.
Devin Taves, that's his name.
Oh, you can see why I got him confused with the Chicago guy.
That's why, right? You've gotten the Stromes confused with the Chicago player. You got Devin Taves confused with the Chicago player. In Nick's mind, everyone ends up in Chicago.
Pretty much. Okay, let's have a look at who's left on this New York Islanders blue line. Because you're right. They cleaned out a little bit. Nick Leddy's still there.
Scott Mayfield is still there.
Scott Mayfield is still there, and Johnny Poychuk is still there.
Thomas Hickey. Yeah, I mean, it's still a good blue line, but they needed Ryan Pulock to stay around. And this gives them that certainty for the next 2 years.
And he's not an unproductive defenseman.
No, he's good. And like $5 million for him on a short-term deal when they have pretty much everything locked up for this year. I think that's fine.
I agree. Are you sleeping on the Isles this year or not sleeping on the Isles this year?
I'm not sure the way to say. I'm no longer underselling the Islanders. So I think that means I'm not sleeping on them. I think that they're going to be good because I've said for so many years that I didn't think they would be. I think they're going to be a fringe to middle playoff team, depending on how we realign things. But
true, the realignment's going to affect some of that, but I agree. I think they're a playoff team. I think
because I bet most of that Metro division stays pretty much the same. It's not like the Atlantic, which could see some big changes. So I think that Metro is probably going to stay pretty similar. Just make sure that they don't have to fly all the way from New York to California, and they're fine.
What a weird concern. Anyways.
All right. Do we want to move on to the top 10 list?
Yes. Let's do it.
Let's take a bit of a break. We'll be back with the top 10 list. Welcome back, everyone. As mentioned, it is time for our summer top 10 list, which means it is also time for the music. Thanks again to Scotty Hicks for hooking us up with that last week. Very excited to have a brand new segment, brand new jingle.
Brand new off season.
Brand new summer. It's nice. I mean, you're still living the summer. I'm living vicariously.
Oh my God. It's so nice. I don't want to keep rubbing it in, but it's so nice.
Like, it's so nice. Nick's not even wearing his Christmas jersey anymore. It's just been put away.
Had to put it away for the season.
This Christmas t-shirt sweater has been gone for months. It's wild. This week's summer top 10 list brings us to, we're going to be looking at the top 10 second overall draft picks. So much attention is often put on the number one draft pick. And yet there are some quality players that have come out at number 2. So we're going to look at the number 1, number 2s.
There's a lot of them. There's some good names on this list.
There are some very good names. I mean, there are some very bad players on this list as well. There have been 58 drafts in NHL history, so there are 58 number 2 overall picks, and several of them have had lengthy careers. 2 of them have already been mentioned on this show today.
I know, I made mental notes of that when we mentioned them.
I forgot about one of them. Arguably one of the ones that's going to be near the top of our list.
Probably.
So how do we want to do this? I would say we don't want to just go through all 58 players and eliminate them one by one. Let's maybe start by looking at some players that we think deserve to be on this list no matter what.
I can make notes of those.
I would say, so the leading scorer in points for number 2 overall, Marcel Dion.
It's got to be on the list.
Got to be somewhere on this list. May not be number 1, but he's on there.
Absolutely. What about somebody? I'm gonna go to Europe early, okay? What about Daniel Sedin, second overall pick?
Got to be on there. Has to.
Got to be on there.
This Daniel Sedin, I would say Evgeni Malkin, he was a second overall pick. He's got to be on this list.
Yeah, but he's not a top 100 player in the NHL of all time. So,
but that's okay because it's not their top 100 list is different than a summer top 10 list. Like this is look, we talked about the scientific process earlier. This is a much more scientific experiment than what the NHL did with their top 100. So I'm fine if he's on this list.
Okay. All right. What about Conn Smythe Trophy winner Victor Hedman? You think he's fringe?
I would put him on the list of people that we're considering. Absolutely. My thoughts on him is that he hasn't been in the league as long as some of these other players. And so it's hard for me when I'm comparing him with the likes of like a career finish Daniel Sedin for me to really be able to compare those. But hey, let's put him on the list.
Okay. I kind of went down the list, but there's a lot close to the top too that we need to consider.
Yeah. I mean, the aforementioned Brendan Shanahan, he's got to be on this list.
He has to be on this list. Stanley Cup winner with the Detroit Red Wings.
I mean, if Stanley Cup winner is a requirement, then there's some other players we need to put on this list. There is only ever, and I'm not suggesting it, but just because it's a fun thing to look at, there have only ever been 2 goaltenders drafted second overall. Can you think of one of them?
I can think of one because I read it on the list.
You will not be able to name the other one.
I couldn't tell you. I wouldn't have even guessed the first one.
Yeah. Kari Lehtinen, second overall to the Atlanta Thrashers.
Yeah.
That was a thing that happened.
Probably shouldn't have done that.
that was regrettable. So what about some of these? I'm going to name off some other names in like the 90s, 2000s that are on this. The second overall pick was a good spot for a number of very quality players. Like almost every second overall pick on this list is one that had a lengthy NHL career. So I'm just going to read through some of these. And then we'll switch and go to the newer names on the list. Okay. So after Jordan Staal, how do you feel about him? Do you want him on this list?
I think he'll be closer to the bottom. He's fringe to me.
What about his brother, Eric Staal? Is he more? We know that Jordan's is the worst of any trilogy of brothers. So Eric Staal can make it?
Yeah, I'd consider him. I mean, there's some other names on here that I think are for sure on the list.
Bobby Ryan? Don't laugh.
I mean, he was good in his day. What about Tyler Seguin?
Tyler Seguin? I would put him on this list. Right? Again, he falls into that more difficult category of like recent players that still need to really show their longevity.
Oh, how about this one? Because I just learned which team drafted this guy. I had no idea. Drafted by the Hartford Whalers, Chris Pronger.
Chris Pronger's got to be on this list.
Absolutely.
What about Patrick Marleau, former Toronto Maple Leaf, Patrick Marleau?
I think that, so he's not one that I would have named off kind of the top of my head, but looking at his career stats, I think he's got to go on here.
Like, I think if with this list, if we're looking at it, if we're putting Eric Staal on this list, Patrick Marleau is absolutely one who has to be on here.
Absolutely. I agree. What about Trevor Linden?
He's another one that fits into that category of like, I'm not sure I would have him as this, but if I'm using our Eric Staal metric, I'd rather the Trevor Linden career than Eric Staal.
Yeah, same.
What about, so looking at more recent drafts.
Yep.
I mean, I don't think this year's draft is fair to look at, old Quentin Byfield and say that he's on this. Last year, Capo Caco went second overall.
How can you consider a guy like that?
Okay, I would agree. Right, not enough of shown to us so far.
Yeah.
Andrei Svechnikov. Now we're starting to get into again. Better, not there yet.
Yeah.
Year before this, easy leave off omission. Nolan Patrick.
Yeah, for sure.
Arguably, probably like the worst on this list.
Yeah.
No, Patrick Laine.
I think that Line and Svechnikov, if we were to do this list in 10 years, it'd be no question those two guys would be on it.
Let's make a note. In 10 years.
We'll come back. We'll see how many goals Jamie Benn has then.
I put it in my Google Calendar.
Okay. Okay, great. I just, you're doing some guesswork with them, right? Like they have the potential to be great, great players. Jack Eichel is another one who I'm like,
this is the hardest of this recent batch for me is Jack Eichel. Where if we were doing this even 3 years from now, I'd be putting him on this list and it wouldn't even be a question.
Yeah. He's still just a bit on the cusp.
Yeah. Andrei Barkov. Also, that's also not his name.
Yeah, I was going to say, Alex, before I corrected you, I was scanning the list to see if there was another one that I missed.
Nope. And again, before that, Ryan Murray, a no.
What about, this is probably the last name on here that I'm like, we probably really should consider him. Drew Doughty.
Drew Doughty is one that I think should go on this list. He might not end up on the top 10, but I would say Drew Doughty firmly deserves to be on this. So what are we sitting at here right now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 people on our short list.
And 2 Staals.
I only wrote 1 Staal down. Jordan did not make my list.
Okay,
if we want Jordan on there, then we're at 12.
No, I don't want Jordan on it.
Okay, I'm just gonna, for the sake of transparency, other second overall picks that I think are worth mentioning. We got Wade Redden, Alexei Yashin, Danny Heatley, Craig Simpson, Kirk Muller. Back-to-back weeks talking about Dave Babbage.
I was just gonna say, what are the odds?
This Dave Babbage. This is now his segment. We can only do ones that reference him. So.
At the end of the off season, we can do the top 10 Dave Babbage references through the show. This guy's phone's going to start being people Googling his name. It's like, why are so many people looking me up now?
It's going to be great for him. I think, look, if with what we saw we could do with Auston Matthews, can you imagine what we could do? Was Dave Babbage the realtor? Or was
I was just wondering that. I truly can't remember.
But can we get a real estate kickback on his? No, that was Jamie McCown is the realtor.
That was Jamie McCown. Okay.
Dave Babbage is currently, I would say probably just really working that mustache.
Still rocking it.
He is also a realtor, I think. No, maybe he's just selling a house. I don't know. There's a segment from the Canucks YouTube of Open House with Dave Babbage, but I think it's a tour of his house.
Oh yeah, this is just a sponsored segment.
So that's disappointing. But hey, there's a lot going on here. Dave Babbage, he's doing fine for himself. He's got, apparently in 2016, he saved a teenager who was on a hike. It's enough that for me.
That's pretty baller. I wonder what kind of mustache comb he uses.
You know he needs one. He's gone full Walrus on that one. All right, Nick, we've got our 11 players for this list. My initial thought on the person, mostly because I used him as my metric for, hey, if you're worse than this guy, you don't get on the list. My first thought of who number 11 should be, which makes him not even an honorable mention because we don't do those, I would put Eric Staal not on this top.
Agreed.
Sorry,
get him
Eric,
out of here.
He doesn't even get a number next to his name. He just gets scratched off.
Which means that there are no Buffalo Sabres on this list.
Noted. We also don't have any, I do not believe any of these players have ever played for the Colorado Avalanche. So that's disappointing. We didn't put second overall pick Gabriel Landeskog on here.
He shouldn't be on here, but that would be why.
when he captains the Stanley Cup winning Colorado Avalanche next year, maybe let's rethink that. But
maybe he'll be
right now,
maybe in next year's top 10 segment, if we decide to put ourselves through this again, we can put him on. But I would like to point out there are 2 Red Wings on this list.
Dave Babbage.
Did Babbage make the list?
No.
Brendan Shanahan and Marcel Dion.
Yes.
So they're going to be 1 and 2 on the list.
Just because they're 1 and 2 in points doesn't mean they're 1 and 2 on the list.
But they're 1 and 2 in my heart also.
That's
That's 2 of 3 things.
They've checked enough boxes for you. All right. What are you thinking for number 10?
Oh, number 10. This is a list of good players. Wait, do you have Victor Hedman on your list?
Correct.
You do, eh? Okay, Victor Hedman.
You would put him, Victor Hedman or Drew Doughty?
Victor Hedman.
Whose career's right? That's how I feel too. So Drew Doughty, number 10? Like whose career?
Oh, you're asking me who I'd take, one or the other?
Yeah. Whose career up until this point would you pick?
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. Victor Hedman.
So Drew Doughty, number 10?
Yeah.
Congratulations. So that do we then?
Were you just about to congratulate him for being the bottom of the list?
He's not the bottom. He could be Eric Staal. He made the list. I mean, he could be Jordan Staal.
Who literally only got bumped because he's not the good Staal.
There's only room for one Staal on this. This is not the Red Wings. It's the Staal brothers. Come on. So does that mean Hedman slots in a 9?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. This is going to be a very difficult list for us to rank.
It's going to get harder, I think, after the next one. After the next 2.
Yeah. So
who do you have next? We'll see if we're on the same page here.
Oof. Trevor Linden.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Me too.
Good. I'm not sure that I think after this one, it gets harder.
Yeah. So here's where my head's at for the next 2.
I think I know where your head's at. It might be the same place my head just went. Let's find out.
Either Patrick Marleau or Tyler Seguin.
That's what exactly I was originally going to say Patrick Marleau, but I think because of longevity of career, I would probably lean Marleau because I don't know how Tyler Seguin's going to end up.
You'd probably lean Marleau at number 7?
I'd probably put Seguin at 7 and Marleau at 6.
And Marleau at 6? Yeah, I can get on board with that.
All right.
I'm going to get on board with this one because I think that the next few are going to be harder to agree on.
We're going to be fighting over the next couple.
Yeah.
So for a recap, let's just do a quick, since we're getting into the nitty gritty of it. At number 10, congratulations, Drew Doughty. At number 9, Victor Hedman. Number 8, Trevor Linden. Number 7, Tyler Seguin. And now that I'm reading this list, there are going to be some very upset Tampa Bay Lightning fans in our life who are like, you cannot put Tyler Seguin at 6 and Victor Hedman. And I think I agree with them now that I've read this list off. I think I want Tyler Seguin at 9 and Victor Hedman at 8.
Yeah, I'm okay with that because of how the Stanley Cup Finals just finished.
Right. Congratulations. Actual congratulations, Victor Hedman. You just moved up. Tyler Seguin, you got bumped down to 9. Patrick Marleau, you're still number 6, which leaves us with the final 5 players in no particular order, aka the order we wrote them down. Marcel Dion, Daniel Sedin, Evgeni Malkin, Brendan Shanahan, and Christopher Pronger.
This is going to get tough. So I don't know how we're going to decide this, man. They're all like, from a points perspective, they're all at the top of the rankings. With the exception of Chris Pronger. However, if you rank him among defensemen, he's up there.
Yeah.
From a like team impact / name recognition perspective, like in NHL history, they're all at the top of this list.
they will all be Hall of Famers.
They will all be Hall of Famers. The only one who currently isn't is Evgeni Malkin because he's still playing.
He's still playing, right? And that's what, like, when his career ends, he will be in the Hall of Fame.
All but two have won Stanley Cups.
Sedin?
I believe. Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, Marcel Dion never won a Stanley Cup.
Really? That's surprising.
He played in Detroit from 71 to 75. There were no cups in Detroit then. Then he played in Los Angeles from 75 to 87. And there were no cups in LA. And then with the Rangers from 86 to 89. And there were no cups in New York then.
Well, there you go. Marcel Dion never won a Stanley Cup.
Never won a Stanley Cup, but the highest scoring second overall pick.
Yeah. And I mean, he has enough accolades to make up for that, right? Like, that's not, we're not worried about his awards in any way, right?
No.
Won the Lady Byng multiple times. Art Ross, Lester B. Pearson award winner. And then obviously Hockey Hall of Fame. So I think
now go ahead.
My idea is half baked and I lost it. What do you think?
From a pure, like, star power on their team perspective, I think that Malkin was always second fiddle to Crosby. Shanahan was always, Shanahan wasn't even second fiddle. He was third or fourth on that Red Wings team.
Yeah. And I mean, without going deep into all of his teams that he's played for in his career, there was very few times where Brendan Shanahan was the best player on his team.
Yeah. Yeah. He was a great, great player in his day. And he was tough. I mean, that's one thing I think that separates him from the rest of these guys is that he was a goal scorer, but he was also a fighter.
Yeah. Chris Pronger definitely never was physical. I mean, it's not like he's like had multiple suspensions.
Chris Pronger being the exception to that statement. But that being said, I think the next two rankings are between Shanahan and Pronger.
Shanahan and Pronger? Really? I was thinking Shanahan and Malkin.
So we both agree Shanahan. Does that not put him at 5?
I think that makes Brendan Shanahan number 5 on this list.
I think so.
And now we're going to have a disagreement about Malkin and Pronger.
So why Pronger over Malkin?
I just look at what Chris Pronger did over the course of his career, right? Stanley Cups, Olympic gold medals, right? Mm-hmm. He was one of the rare triple gold club members, right? Mm-hmm. He was able to do that. You look at what he was able to win, right? He won the Norris Trophy. He won the Hart Trophy as a defenseman, which is unreal to be able to pull off. Shockingly, not a Conn Smythe winner. Because he also had Scott Niedermayer, I believe, won that Conn Smythe.
That's right. I think you're right. Yeah.
But just with all that he was able to do, as a defenseman, he was consistently, if we're looking at like the best player on the team, Chris Pronger, even as a defender, I would classify him as the best player on several of his teams.
He does have that edge over Malkin for sure. Because Malkin's always going to be in Crosby's shadow.
And I'm like, I get that it shouldn't be Malkin's fault that he played with one of the best players of the generation and they were drafted, a year apart?
But you're right. Like, we're never going to know whether or not he could carry the team on his shoulders, right? Like, he's always going to have a strong, he'll always be part of the kind of the supporting cast. I mean, he's definitely one of the top 3 players on that Penguins team and has been.
But even matchup wise, right? Sidney Crosby is always going to get the tougher matchup and Malkin gets that next one.
Yeah. 100%.
again, we'll never know, but what does a Malkin team look like with he being that guy who's getting the toughest matchup, who's not getting, those great pairings every night?
And if you put that matchup lens over Pronger, he's the defenseman who always would have gotten the Crosby matchup.
Exactly. He's
right. He would have played Crosby, not Malkin.
Yeah.
Okay. You've convinced me. You've won that one.
All right. So that puts Pronger at 3, Malkin at 4. And then our top 2, Marcel Dionne versus Daniel Sedin. Literally, oddly enough, people care so much about Stanley Cups for Hockey Hall of Fame accolades, and our top 2 on this list have never won one.
There are 1, 2, 3, 4 players in this top 10 that have that never won a Stanley Cup, and only one of those 4 still has a shot. Maybe
2 of them do. Patrick Marleau's has a contract.
Yeah, who else?
Evgeni Malkin's won a Stanley Cup. You are correct. It's just Patrick Marleau.
Yeah.
It's too bad Eric Staal didn't make this top 10.
Time's running out fast. Okay, so Sedin or Dionne?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. How do we compare these 2 players? One played in the 70s.
And one played with his twin brother.
We're not even sure if he scored all these goals.
I mean, can you tell the difference between Henrik and Daniel?
Nope.
This could be, this is obviously an audio podcast. This is an audio medium. But if I were to start pulling up pictures of Henrik or Daniel, how often do you think you would get it correct?
I don't know. 50%, just based on luck.
It's probably 50%, right? But
yeah.
You know that I'm going to put a run of just all Henriks on you, and you're going to mess them all up.
100%.
But here's the thing. I don't know if they're even the correct pictures. I would just Google Henrik Sedin or Daniel Sedin, and so often they're in the same picture.
No one will ever know.
I'm not even fully confident that I know which one's 22 and which one's 33.
How often do you think even one of the Sedins has been ranked on a list like this without being part of the Sedin twins combo?
It's true. Just one Sedin on a list.
Who talks about just one Sedin?
We are. We're streets ahead.
We're streets ahead. And if you don't get that reference, you're streets behind.
It's true. So here we go. Daniel Sedin. I think, to me, I'm leaning Marcel Dionne. Simply because, in a similar way to the arguments before, and I know we're not supposed to talk about Henrik, but I would say Henrik had a larger impact on his team than Daniel did.
That's fair.
I mean,
and really the only reason we're talking about Daniel right now is because they just happened to say his name first.
That's true. Yeah. It is.
They probably went alphabetical.
Probably. It's an interesting theory. We should ask Brian Burke that one day. Hey, why'd you pick Daniel first?
That's an interesting question. I bet you it's in his book. He's going to make us go buy his book.
Let's just interview him about the book and then ask him. Seems like a better way to do this. So I think because of that, because to me, Henrik had the larger impact and likely just because positionally, right? Like Henrik being the center on that line, really had a larger impact and a larger role on what was happening there. But they worked so well together that they were fantastic, legendary players.
Yeah, and I guess, do you have one without the other? Right? Are we talking about Daniel Sedin right now if Henrik didn't play by his side his entire life?
Right. If Henrik ended up going to the Columbus Blue Jackets, what kind of a career does Daniel have?
It's enough to call in question the number one ranking on our top 10 list this week.
I think so. And I think we see Marcel Dion with what he was able to do, even different era, right?
Yeah.
I mean, over 700 goals, over 1,000 assists. Spectacular career for him. Like, he had more assists. He actually, wait a second. I was going to say he had more. Daniel Sedin has one more point than Marcel Dion has just assists.
Yeah.
And
that's pretty crazy, eh?
You add those 700 goals on top of that, and I think it's
not even close.
An easy win for old Marcel Dion.
Done. Congratulations to Marcel Dion.
The best second fiddle in NHL history. Do you know? I mean, so let's play an easier one with Daniel Sedin. Who went first overall when he went second?
Can you give me the year?
1999.
1999? Oh, man. I don't think it was Rick Nash. I think Rick Nash was like 2002 or something.
The Atlanta Thrashers had the draft pick.
Oh, what was that guy's name? He was a bust.
You're correct.
Oh, what was his name? I can't think of his name right now.
His name was Patrick Stefan.
That's right.
And literally outside of the Sedins, the 1999 draft, the first round was abysmal. I'm going to now list off several of the players that were drafted after them.
Yeah, do it.
Until we get to one, and I'm just going to rapid fire it because this is an embarrassment of NHL general managers at this point in time. Or it was just, I mean, looking into the deeper rounds of the draft, it wasn't a great draft anyways. But here we go. Pavel Brendel, Tim Connolly, Brian Finley, Chris Beach, Taylor Pyatt, Jamie Lundmark, Branislav Mazy, Oleg Saprikin, Denis Shavitki, Yanni Rita, Jeff Gilson, Scott Kelman, doesn't even have a Wikipedia page. David Tanabe, Barrett Jackman, Konstantin Poltsov, Kirill Safronov. The next one that really had a solid career, Martin Havlat at 26th overall.
Wow. I think I know the name Barrett Jackman.
Barrett Jackman had a lengthy St. Louis Blues career. Yeah.
St. Louis, right? Yeah.
There's, a number of players. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 players in that first round. 12 of 28 played less than 100 games in the NHL.
That's a very bad first round.
That's a terrible draft.
What happened in 1999?
And the only two really good players ended up on the exact same team.
That's crazy.
What a draft. All right. The harder version, who was drafted ahead of Marcel Dion?
in like 1970.
In 1971, 70? I'm going to give you a hint. This player is much, much better than Patrick Stefan. And would be another very good argument of who was the better player. Guy Lafleur.
That's exactly the name I was going to guess, but it was not an educated guess. I was just thinking of another name from that era.
Yeah. Guy Lafleur, number 1 in 1971. That was a banger 1-2.
That was a banger 1-2. And I think Guy Lafleur is probably the better player.
I think so. But hey, we just argued if Daniel Sedin was better than Marcel Dion. So if that's the case, if that's even an argument, I think you can easily put Guy Lafleur ahead of Dion.
I agree.
All right. Well, there you go, Nick. That brings us to the end of our top 10 list. Thank you very much for tuning in this week. We'll be back next week where I texted Nick the idea. Are we doing that top 10 list next week, maybe?
Yeah, let's do it next week.
Okay.
Let's do it next week. We'll see what the news cycle does, but I think we should aim to do it next week.
Okay. A little hint. It's food related. That's all we're going to give you. That's all
making me hungry.
Oh, you're going to be real hungry when you finish next week's episode, unless something crazy happens and Auston Matthews shaves off his mustache. Who knows? Until then, thank you for tuning in. You can find us on Twitter at Fourth Line Podcast, thefourthlinepodcast.com, facebook.com/the Fourth Line Podcast. We are found everywhere you get your podcasts, including Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, and the Full Press Radio app. Till next week.
Time for us to wrap up another Fourth Line show. I know what you're thinking. You don't want us to go. Second overall pick is normally a good player. And I've been talking for too long. I need to get out of this chair.